Len says it's on his side, and you're good.
Okay, cool. I will need to have my video enabled because looking at you right now.
Speaker?
I'm just curious why I'm on small screen. Now I see you.
Did I not do that thing? Okay. You should be able to share your screen.
Okay, I can totally do that. Oh, all right, cool. Here we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Roku, and today we are going to be covering the Presidential Marshal's exam, the what and the why. Let me get my screen shared here, and we'll get started. I have a really cool PowerPoint that I only spent this morning making, because that is how we prepare around here. Yep, that's right. What am I doing? Here we go. That's excellent. And let's make this big here. Okay. So welcome to the Presidential Marshal's exam, the what and why, by me, Roku, Knight, Belligarth Medieval Combat Society, Order of the Golden Owl, for those of you wondering. That's right there. So I have been asked to speak on the Presidential Marshal's exam today. The Presidential Marshal's exam, well, we'll get into exactly what it is, but it is basically an exam designed to create a level of marshal within the sport as defined by our bylaws as one of the roles of the president. So we'll just get to that really quickly. So in year of Belligarth 10, which was 2012, President Sir Parr created the Presidentially Certified Marshal Program to ensure marshals of high quality could be found throughout the realms of Belligarth. In the bylaws, the president will select marshals for BMCS sponsored and funded let's not do that. Sponsored and funded groups and the hosting group, if the hosting group has not already done so in case of problems. By that bylaw, that is a thing of the president, so he started it. It has been going since 2012. You can find out who we are. I am one of them. You can find out who we are on the Geddon. Just do a search for nationally certified marshals, and you'll find the list that is kept to date. So, and this is a really, really nice picture of Squire Carl. Squire Carroll doing archery tests. Squire Bogan's in the background. I'm in the background. War Master Cord, and Tinker back there as well. That is one of the duties of a marshal. So those are marshals doing marshal's work. We're going to get through these slides relatively quickly and then break into a question and answer session. So you can ask questions of a presidential marshal. So what are the duties of a marshal? RTFM isn't just for snappy replies. People get really annoyed when they ask about the presidential marshal, how to study exam, how to study for it, what's in it. And we reply with, well, read the Book of War. But the fact of the matter is that everything you need to know for the exam is in the Book of War. So I'm not going to read every single one of these, but the really important things that marshals are responsible for are bold highlighted over here. If you have an asterisk next to it, it's the top of something. So like this is 1.1, everything else for this is 1.1. But these are important. Marshals are the referees of Belligarth, responsible for rules enforcement, encouraging acceptable behaviors, and inspection of both the field and the equipment used. I'm going to move you over here. There we go. And then everything under here. This is really important for not only being a marshal, but understanding what marshals do. I will let you read this on your own time, but these are all very important and they are all included. We have both more power and less power than people seem to think we do. 1.2 is the calling of a hold. 1.3 is about equipment inspection. 1.4, this is also really important. That's why there's an asterisk next to it. The target of an attack has the authority to make combat hit determinations, but must defer to the discretion of the marshals. That can be delegated to us as marshals. And then the creative interpretation of the rules to gain any advantage is illegal. And then this one is really important. The marshal settles all disputes. Beyond that, talking about some other inspections that marshals are required to do. And then 4, weapons specifications and checking. That entire section of the Book of War we're responsible for. And then also 5, garb. There are some appendices that we are also responsible for, but I did not include them in this slide. This is really important, and people don't understand what it means when you're marshaling. At a local level, marshaling means you're running games, things like that. But it's much, much more than that. People can do it, and we love it when people do it. But speaking of becoming a certified marshal, we'll get into what that means here in just a second. So what makes a presidential marshal, in my opinion? This is only my opinion. I believe that a presidential marshal is an expert on the rules and adjudication of Bellegarth at every level. Their knowledge is greater than the bulk of the community in this area and can be looked to as a reference for these areas of the society. Right? We're not just marshals, right? We are. Well, we'll run through these real quick. So you know the letter of the rules. This is really important. Has the exact wording for issues that may arrive and ensures that they have access to the exact wording on the field. In other words, I don't have to necessarily have it memorized, but I certainly have access to it, whether on my phone or in a printed form. I can quote the rule that I am enforcing. One of the things that happen in Bellegarth is the way that we pass down rules at, say, our realm or local level is kind of a game of telephone. I learned it because someone told me about the rules, or as I played, I learned what the rules were. Very rarely have I discovered that people actually go through and read what the exact wording of the rules are, and that is really important. But that ties into the next one. Understands the rationale for the rules. I think I said, I don't think I spelled that right, but that's okay. They understand the reason that the rules exist, not only the ability to recite the rule, but why the rule is in place and can articulate that reason on the field. Not only can I tell you what rule is in question, I can tell you why that rule is in place. The reason we have this much half padding is this is a disallowed because. That is also really important. Not just knowing what they are, but knowing why they are. Has the ability to act head marshal or arbitrator. The knowledge and bearing of a presidential marshal can be invaluable at events large and small due to their depth of knowledge and presence. That should be on presence on the field. That's also really important. We should hopefully be looked to as an example of marshalate, and then the ability to step up in those areas where marshaling is important, whether as a head or a co-head, and be able to act as an arbitrator in final decisions, right? Marshaling, if there's more than one person, I believe, should always be a group activity then, but the buck has to stop somewhere, and I believe that presidential marshal should have the ability and the bearing to act as that stop point. Gives and takes of knowledge. Keeps current on any rule changes and how they affect the Book of War, and ensures that other local marshals are also current, and also proctors the exam when able and appropriate. So one of the duties of a presidential marshal is to continue creating more presidential marshals. So it is up to us to give out the exam. Currently, as of the filming of this, September 2020, we have made some allowances for the ability to proctor the exam amongst distance and no events. Speak to a presidential marshal on how that can work if taking the presidential exam is something you would like to do. The other important thing that I did not put in here was that we also need to be aware of any regional differences in how the Book of War is interpreted. For myself, I find this maddening, but it is true that every region does things a little differently. It is our job, if you will, to know what those differences are and how to properly apply them. And if we don't, find out what they are. That is quite important. So the exam itself, for the record, this is what the exam looks like. I printed it out. It's about 20, 23, 24 pages. It is 10 hours. You have to have 10 hours of marshaling and weapons checking. You need 85% on the test, which is 270 of 318 points. And if you are not successful in your attempt, then you must wait 1 calendar month between attempts. This is all done for a variety of reasons. It needs to be noted the person who wrote the original Marshal's exam is a university professor by trade. And so some of that bled over here, which is more than appropriate. So my PowerPoint populated these very nice little images. So what is the exam itself? It's designed to test every element of marshalling in both practice and theory. Not only do you need to know it, but you need to be able to demonstrate it. And those will be, you will see that in the test. Words matter. Higher possibility of correct answer if wording is correct. The Book of War has its own language that is not used in the common tongue. This is really important, all right? When speaking of the Book of War, we can call it a blue weapon, and that's acceptable, but by all rights and privileges, it should be a class 1 weapon, all right? Blue simply is the tape color denoting it. However, it is not what is denoting it. Is that enough to fail? No, but it is important to understand that the Book of War is written in a certain way, and learning to use that language appropriately is very impressive in a proctoring scenario.
We have a question real quick.
I have an answer.
Thor Orr was wondering, can I get a link to join to be a marshal?
So marshalling is generally done at a local level. In other words, there's like no marshalling guild or anything. What you would do is go to your practice and ask, hey, I want to learn how to marshal. I would say at this point, the most important thing is learn the Book of War.
So I've read the Book of War, the last 3 versions of the Book of War, and I didn't know there was an actual exam to be a marshal. I was always just told you just get voluntold to be a herald. So I never knew there was an actual test or anything. I do want to do it, but my local is Arnor, and they've actually told me they don't even know all the current rules for the Book of War.
So here's the thing, is this is specifically to the presidential exam. So anybody can be a marshal, but if you want to be a presidentially certified marshal, there is an exam for that level of marshaling.
Can I get that?
Does that make sense?
I want that link.
Okay, so here's what you need to do. In order to do that, you will need to go to the Geddon and find, I'll provide links after class. Or
what is Geddon?
Geddon is our Wikipedia.
Okay.
So I am in full screen right now. I don't have access to send links and stuff, but I will send that to you. And on that is a list of currently presidentially certified marshals. You will need to find one who is hopefully close to you, or find one at an event, and then we can help you with that. Again, this isn't marshaling per se. This is specifically for the presidential marshal's exam and what that means and how that works. Did that answer your question?
Yes. As soon as I get them links from you, I'll really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Not a problem. Of course. So also look outside your local area for possibilities you may not have encountered, especially in weapons checking. So it is reasonable to assume that if the exam covers weapons checking, it will cover the checking of all weapons. So that means that if double-sided weapons or archery, or I don't know, pick something that you may not have in your local area, you are responsible for knowing that, even if you're not checking it on a regular basis. So that's really important. So there is a spot for a break in the exam, and no time limit is suggested. My exam took 3 days, only because then Squire Bogan, who was my proctor, and I were also running around doing different things. On average, we like to say about 3 hours, and blocking that time at an event and preparing for that is important. Hydrate. Use whatever test preparation works for you. Answers are given verbally, so be prepared to vocalize your answers. This is part of the test that is important to understand. As marshals, we use our voices in order to get our job done. So therefore, the test is done in the manner that it will be taken care of. In general, the proctor will talk at you and you will talk back to them. And that is how it is done. So if talking is an issue, work on it. Find a way to do it, because as marshals, that's how we get work done. And then, of course, ask for help. And our goal is success. We want to have successful attempts, and we want people to be successful in it. And then I think, yeah, this is my questions and answers, which is actually personal. It's actually a rather poor picture of me, but marshaling. But as far as this would go, I will not answer questions directly related to the exam itself. It is forbidden by. I was going to add that, and I forgot in my slide. But it is basically tradition that we don't talk about the exam. If you want to know what's in the exam, it's in the Book of War. Figure you're being tested over the entire Book of War. I'm not going to talk directly about certain questions. I'm not going to go on that. You can ask yes or no questions when asking about the exam. That's also really, really good. Because then I can just then we can just answer yes or no. And those are relatively good ones. And also general rule questions are welcomed. My job as a presidentially certified marshal, again, is to be that point of contact when it comes to the Book of War as it currently stands. To my knowledge, the Book of War is current on the Geddon and the site itself, as we haven't had any rule changes since we stopped fighting for the last couple of segments, which is really good. So there is that. There's really nothing beyond the official presidential marshal's exam other than kind of what it is and how it works. Again, if you are looking to study for it, the easiest thing to do is to read the Book of War and understand the Book of War. Something that I highly suggest is with your realm mates, sit down and read it section by section and throw ideas and questions back and forth in that format. That really kind of cements what's actually in the Book of War, because sometimes we forget, thanks to the aforementioned game of telephone that we play in order to understand the rules of our society, at least our field rules of our society. So, but yeah, it is in theory, it is in practice. The practical part is also really important. We as proctors need to see, not only like hear that you know what you're doing, but we need to observe it as well. So, let me see. Is there anything else I can really go into as far as that goes? It is time consuming, and it is very in depth. You need to have an understanding of how the rules work and why they work. I mentioned the language. That is also very important. And also make sure that you get your numbers straight. Numbers are huge. And find mental tricks to remember what is, because some weapon types definitely have way more numbers than others do, and remembering what they are related to is super important.
Could you grab the links real quick?
I can. Let me jump out of my screen share. There we go. And let me find this. Where is, oh, that's what I need. Okay, so as far as the Geddon goes, the list of nationally certified marshals are right here. What buttons am I pressing? Oh, there we go. That is the list of nationally certified marshals. And these are all people who can talk to you about the test and give it. So many realms will actually have their own marshalling test. I know Stygia has its own, which I help write. And, we will do that. And then you will be a local marshal, at least for Stygia. All that is really important. Making sure when you go to events and stuff, your marshalling and weapons checking is also super helpful, especially if it's outside of your area, because then you will be able to see what other people are doing and how they're doing it. So that is important. Yeah, this has been relatively relatively short. What's the answer to number 1? The answer to number 1 is located in the Book of War. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I absolutely love your sense of humor. I cannot wait to actually meet you.
Well, excellent. I can't wait to meet you.
Let me turn this stupid thing off.
But so I'm gonna speak briefly then on how we are dealing with COVID right now, because this is important. So, and because I saw it and it was mentioned on it, I believe I am allowed to talk about it. So pretty much what is happening is that we don't have fields to do the test at. This test is really designed to be one-on-one and in person. And I imagine that once we are back in normal eventing, that will still be the case. And there's reasons that we do it and whatnot, which is not germane to this particular conversation. But
so my question would be, like, so we don't really have a number for how long we're going to be shut down, do we?
No, we don't.
So this could be anywhere from another year, 2,
yep,
3.
Yep.
Is there any way to kind of, because that's kind of a thing for my unit to rank up. I would actually need to become a marshal.
Yep.
Or a presidential marshal.
So we can do Skype tests, but we have to know the person who is taking the test, because we would have observed them doing some of this. So kind of as a group, from what I can understand, this is primarily like if I've seen you at an event or I know you from a realm, that I could then proctor that over Skype. And it's just simply because of the level of knowledge that we have to accrue, and because having that innate ability is different when you can't actually get face to face. So that is kind of where we are right now. It will be continue to evolve as things evolve. The latest I have heard is that yes, we can do Skyping for people who are within our Belagirth circle, basically. So
yeah, I don't even know where any of the nearest realm that seems that has a marshal is Wolfpack, and they're over 3 hours away.
Right.
Thor, what unit are you part of?
I'm a part of the Greenhorns.
Okay. I would check with them and make sure that in order to rank up, you have to become a nationally certified marshal versus just learning the rules to marshal locally.
It's my unit. I'm the leader of the unit. That is a requirement. Okay. You have to know the rules to be a member of my unit.
Okay.
I like it. I like it.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do at this point then is I would probably say that we can kind of wrap things up. I'm going to hang out in the room until noon, but as far as keeping this as a recording, I think we are good. So I am Sir Roku. This has been Presidentially Certified Marshals. And yeah, we're good there. I'm going to move on. Thor, why don't you unmute for me?